Hey everyone, so today we are going to talk about money, but forget everything you learned in economics class because we're going to look at it from a totally different angle. We're going to treat it like what it really is, one of the first and maybe the most successful tech startups in human history. So that quote you just saw from the economist Carl Menger, it sounds a little dense, but what he's describing is a huge problem. I want you to imagine a world with no money. Let's say you're a baker and you make amazing bread, but your shoes have holes in them. To get new shoes, you can't just go to a store. You have to find a shoemaker who not only has the shoes you want, but who also, right at that exact moment, happens to be craving bread. Talk about a long shot, right? That's what's called the double coincidence of wants. And that really gets us to the core question here. If trading one thing directly for another is so incredibly inefficient and difficult, how on earth did we build the complex world we live in today? What exactly is money? And what problem was it really built to solve? All right, let's get into it.
To really get what money is, we have to imagine a world totally without it. So let's strip everything away and start at absolute zero, with the simplest possible way of living. This starting point has a fancy name, autarky, but all it really means is total self-sufficiency. You're on your own. If you want to eat, you got to catch the fish. If you need a place to sleep, you have to build the shelter. There's nobody to trade with, so there's absolutely no use for money.
Now, in a world like this, there's a very real, very hard limit on how good your life can be. Your personal prosperity is capped by what you and you alone can get done in 24 hours. You might be the best fisherman in the world, but if you're a terrible builder, well, you're going to get wet when it rains.
But of course, we humans didn't stay isolated forever. We came up with a brilliant innovation, trade. The only problem was this new invention created another massive, hidden problem of its own. The big idea behind trade is just specialization, right? Instead of everyone trying to be okay at everything, I can get really good at fishing, and you can get really good at building huts. Then we trade. I get a fantastic hut, you get fantastic fish. On paper, it's a win-win. We both end up with more and better stuff than we could have made on our own. But, and this is a huge but, that on-paper part is tricky. The actual process of trading, which we call barter, comes with this enormous hidden cost. It's called a transaction cost. You can think of it as all the time, all the energy, all the resources you burn just trying to find the right person and make a deal happen. Let's just walk through how painful this is. You're the baker. You need shoes. Great. You find a shoemaker, but nope, she's all set on bread. What she really needs is wool. So now you have to stop baking bread and go on this whole other quest to find a weaver who happens to want bread so you can get their wool, just so you can go back to the shoemaker to finally get your shoes. I mean, think about all of that wasted time and effort. It's a nightmare. So here's the really important part. These massive transaction costs basically act like a huge tax on every single trade. They make the world of possible deals shrink. For a trade to be worth all that hassle, it has to be an unbelievably good deal. And if it's too hard, people just give up. The expert baker throws his hands up and says, forget it, I'll just make my own crummy shoes. And poof, the entire advantage of specialization just vanishes. And this is it. This is the global, world-changing problem that money was invented to solve. This wasn't about power or gold, not at first. It was about fixing a fundamental bug in the system. It was an engineering solution. And here is the aha moment of this whole thing. The best way to think about money isn't as wealth itself. It's a piece of social technology. It's an invention, like the wheel or the internet, designed for one specific purpose: to crush the transaction costs that made barter so terrible. That's its entire job. I mean, just look at the upgrade this technology gives us. Barter means you're wasting tons of time just searching. With money, you just find someone selling what you want. Barter requires that 1 in a million lucky coincidence. But money, it's a universally accepted medium. Everybody takes it. And this one single innovation is what allows a tiny local market to scale up into a global one, which then allows for the incredibly deep specialization that our whole modern economy is built on. Okay, so we've established money is a technology that makes trade way, way cheaper. But how does that simple function actually make all of us, as a society, better off? Well, it happens in two really powerful steps. So yeah, how does this amazing new tech actually boost our collective well-being? It really comes down to two main things. Let's break them down one by one. All right, benefit number one is the most obvious one. Remember our baker running all over town trying to find a weaver? With money, that whole ridiculous side quest is just gone. He sells bread for cash, turns around, and buys shoes. Done. All of those hours he just got back are now freed. He can use that time to bake more bread, come up with a new recipe, or, just go home and relax. Society as a whole instantly gets back all of those previously wasted resources.
Now, the second benefit is less obvious, but it's way more profound. By slashing the cost of making a deal, money suddenly makes millions and millions of trades worthwhile that just weren't worth the effort before. Think about a tiny deal that might only benefit both people a little bit. Under barter, no way you're going through all that hassle. But with money, it takes 2 seconds, so you do it. And when you multiply that effect by millions of people, you create this incredible network effect. More trade allows for more specialization, which creates more cool stuff to trade, which creates more reasons to trade in the first place. It kicks off this amazing virtuous cycle of growth.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Economists Bruner and Meltzer nailed this all the way back in 1971. What they're saying here is that the real power of money, its value to all of us, comes directly from two things: saving resources that used to be wasted and expanding the market because it's suddenly cheaper for everyone to participate. That's it. That's the secret sauce.
And so this way of thinking leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. If money is just a technology for reducing friction in trade, and if technology always gets upgraded, what's the next version look like? What friction still exists in our financial system today? I mean, think about waiting 3 days for a bank transfer to clear or paying huge fees to send money to another country. What new invention, what new tech startup is going to come along and solve those problems?